Okay, so today on this video, we're going to talk about objects, and we're going to find out some pretty cool things. We're going to learn about how to, or what an object is first, and then we'll talk about how we can make objects, build them, and then how we can do stuff with objects. A lot of stuff. So here we go. Um, let's talk about objects. What are objects? Well, in JavaScript, objects are everything. Objects are everything, and everything is an object. Uh, Objects are containers where data can not only be stored, but it can be classified. Data is stored in objects by using property or key value pairs. And in JavaScript, everything that we've discussed this far is an object. What I mean by that is arrays, they are objects. Um, the data types, those are objects. JavaScript is an object-oriented programming language, which means that it is built in such a way that we're able to, well, there are features that are built into everything when it comes to JavaScript. So here's the syntax for an object. As you can see here, this is a way to build an object. This is one way to build an object, and it's called the object literal. What we see here, we have the var keyword again, and then the object, whatever the object name is. And then we have property and value. And you see the properties and values are separated by colons. And then we have the pair, the property value pair, which is separated by a comma. So you can see we have a colon here and a comma here that separates a property's values. So you'll hear property or key used interchangeably. Okay, so either key value pair, property value pair, one or the other. This is how they're named. And again, notice that this is all inside of a curly brace. Okay, so that is how we can recognize what an object is, by being inside of a curly brace and key value pairs. You can see there are other ways to create objects, but we're going to focus on this method here, which is called the object literal. So I'm going to go ahead and start up my workstation, if you will, from scratch. So let me go ahead and create this. Okay, that's done. And now I'm going to come over here to my app.js file, and as I've done with all the other videos, I like to start off by putting the syntax. So var obj, or the object. So we have a key value, or again, property value. And sometimes you may even hear property referred to as prop. But it's the same thing. So this is how you can make an object. Pretty simple. I'll come back to that. So there are two ways to access data from an object, because that's what we want to do. We want to build an object, and then we also want to access data from the object. So let's build this object right here, and look at how both dot and bracket notation work, because those are the two ways that we can access data from an object. using bracket notation and dot notation. So let's start off by building this object. So I'm going to say var person, curly brace. Okay, so I'll say f name, Dwayne, L name, Johnson, alias, The Rock. Occupation, President of the United States. Soon come.
Do you need to remove, what are the quotes around occupation for?
Oh, we're going to get into that. Yeah, good question. Wants to know what are the quotes around occupation for. We'll look into that. He's a wrestler, also an actor, and a commissioner of a sport league.
He's also a dad.
And a dad.
Not the job in itself.
You got that right. Tell me about it if I don't know. Age. I think he's 52 now. It's strong, true. So, here we have this object, which is person. I'm going to go ahead and start my browser up. So I start my browser up, and obviously the first thing that I want to do just to check and see what this looks like, I'm going to log this out. So console.log, not you. Person. When I console person, here I can see my object. And when I open it up, click on the little triangle here, I can see all of my properties and values. And here it tells me what it is. It's an object. That's the prototype. So it's got all this information in there. Notice that here in my console, my properties are listed in a different order from the way I wrote them. You can see here. They're written differently. Your console, I know definitely for Google Chrome, I can't speak on other consoles. I don't know. I don't use them as much. But I would imagine, I believe that they list the properties alphabetically. Okay. There's no particular order. It's kind of important to know because one thing about objects, where one of the ways that they differ from arrays is that objects are not iterable. For example, like an array is iterable. There is a starting, was a first item and a last item. There's a particular order in the way that they're written. Same thing like strings, they're iterable because there's all these different characters of the strings. There's a particular order to them. Not so much with the object. Objects are not iterable, so that's a good thing for you to know. But anyways, here we are. We have our object, and we see how it's displayed in the console. All right. So we want to see how to access data because we can obviously console the object and print it out, and we can see the entire object. But what if we want to get just data from the object? How do we do that? First, we can see that the properties. Is this right? Okay. Oh, let's go. Let's continue. Yeah. First, we can see that the properties and values are separated by colons. F name Dwayne, and each pair is separated by a comma. You see L name Johnson, comma alias The Rock. Properties can be written with or without quotes. So that was a question, about the quotations around the property. There you can see right there. Here, well, occupation, that was written in quotes, and that's okay. That's valid. And then I have a star here. This little footnote. If the property has multiple words, you must use quotation marks or camel case. For the folks who are watching the video, my big head's in the way. That's camel case. So you must use quotation marks or camel case if the property has multiple words. For example, come back over here in the code and we see other jobs. Because this is multiple words, I have to have this in quotes or it needs to be camel case. And it's generally a style thing. Yes.
So whenever we call upon like that property within the object, we just need to make sure when referencing it, we do it within quotes, within parentheses.
We'll get into that. So let's talk about dot notation. As stated earlier, one of the ways to access data from an object is by using dot notation. Okay. And so the syntax is object.key. Okay. So I'm going to put a comment right here. Say what we're doing, dot notation. I'll say accessing data from an object. One way is dot notation. And looks like this. I would say object. So the name of the object dot key or property, and that's going to return the value. So let's look at that. If we want to get the alias, if we want to access the rock, okay, let's do that. I would say console.log. I would say person. I have to call the object, and then the key that I want, which is alias. So if I say person.alias, I go and look at the console, and there is the rock. So that's how we could do that. And let's see if that works for occupation. So I'm gonna say person dot. Oh, I see it already doesn't like that, right? I'm getting the error right there. Okay. So in a case like this, where I have double quotes around occupation, that's a single word. I don't need the quotes right there. I can just say person.occupation, and that is going to console President of the United States. So when accessing data from an object, dot notation is one way to do it. You use the object name and then the key or property. Let's talk about bracket notation now. What would happen if we tried to access the array wrestler, actor, commissioner, dad? If we wanted this array here, if I try to do that, console.log other, oh no, I'm sorry, person dot other jobs. Oh, I see that it doesn't like that. We get an error here. Yes. You see here, if we try person dot other jobs, we will notice an error. To solve this problem, we can use bracket notation. Okay, and bracket